Hello everybody, Scott here from HeyUGuys. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're very well. We are back with another video review. On today's episode, we of Mouth Off, as Dave likes to call it. We're going to be talking about Charlie Kaufman's new movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which streams on Netflix from this Friday, September the 4th. It's just weird that it's September now. I mean, how mad. On this episode, I'm joined by Linda. Hi Linda, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. We've just come off another one, so there's 2 reviews for you this week. You lucky things. Thank you to everybody that watched our Tenet review. That seems to have gone down pretty well. We were there front and center for the embargo, talking about this crazy movie that everyone seemed to have gone to see over the weekend, which is kind of good for cinema and good for the industry, and also strange that people are venturing out. But hey, each to their own. Anyway, this one is for your home enjoyment on your big screen, if you've got one, or your small screen. This is Charlie Kaufman's new movie, based on the book by Iain Reid.
Iain Reid, yes.
Iain Reid. We just discussed that off there seconds ago, and my brain just forgot about it because we were talking about other stuff. And stars a fantastic cast led by Jesse Plemons, Jessie Buckley, Toni Collette, and David Thewlis. So Charlie Kaufman has been away for a few years. I think the last thing he did was, what was the last film he did?
Anomalisa?
Anomalisa, of course. So this is his first venture into live action movies since Synecdoche, New York, which is a phenomenal piece of work, which stars the amazing and very late Philip Seymour Hoffman. So go check that out after. And of course, Anomalisa, which was fantastic. I think it was a surprise film at LFF one year, wasn't it? People talked about that. Anyway, he's back. He's written this film based on this book. Taken a few detours with the book, so people have told me I haven't read the book, but apparently it's very much based on the book, but he takes a few detours and he goes on his own realm, as Charlie Kaufman does, and directs the movie as well. And it's about a couple, a new couple, played by Jesse Plemons and Jessie Buckley, and Jesse Plemons is taking Jessie Buckley, his new girlfriend, to meet his parents for the first time. So they go on this road trip into this kind of snowbound winter wonderland, which seems to take forever to get to his parents' house. And when they're there, she meets the parents and some things happen. I'm not going to go into too many details. It's strange to say spoilers for this one, but it such is the story and the complexity of the narrative and the characters that we won't go into spoilers, because there's things to be discovered here. This isn't it's a straight drama, but there's things to be discovered. So Linda, I mean, are you a fan of Charlie Kaufman? I've been a fan since his early work, and obviously one of my favorite films is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which kind of leans on this one a little bit in terms of relationships and love and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, are you a fan? Were you excited for his latest film?
I think, I mean, this is just his, I think, the 3rd or 4th film as a director. I think he mostly does the writing, and I've enjoyed some of the stuff that he's written in the past, including Eternal Sunshine, which is, again, one of my favorite movies of all time. I've had a weird relationship with Charlie Kaufman throughout the years, and I was not a fan of Anomalisa, I have to say. I've struggled. So I have found, not because I've found his stuff inaccessible, I've just found it a bit to sort of up its own self in some ways. But my relationship with this particular film has been on a more positive side, and I think it's because within the parameters for him of sort of writing or sort of adapting someone else's work, he's been sort of held back a bit, and I think he could do it more of that. I think it's when he's let loose to do what he wants that I lose him a bit, but I mean, that's I think some people really enjoy everything he does, and sort of, but I've had problems. I found some of his stuff very alienating, and for me, good filmmaking should not alienate anyone, whether someone has got a degree from Oxbridge in philosophy or whether they've only just finished sort of A-levels. And I think that's what good cinema should do. And I think sort of alienating your audience doesn't always work, or doesn't always sort of, it's not always the right reason to be making films. But you'd be glad to know that I really like this. I think this is his best work. I was so and I love everyone who's in it. I think David Thewlis again, one of my favorite actors, Jesse Plemons, who is in almost everything at the moment. Really good in this. Jessie Buckley, who I think I love Jessie Buckley generally, and I think she's a fantastic actress. I had a problem with her American accent in this. What did you think? I think it's not perfect, is it?
It's not perfect. I mean, originally, and this is a little nugget for everybody. Originally, she came in as a replacement. So Brie Larson was supposed to be in this film, but obviously, I think because of her commitments to Marvel, potentially, she obviously couldn't, or whatever she was doing, she couldn't do it. It does. It is one of those that I think this is probably the first. Correct me if I'm wrong. The first time she's had to do an American accent. I think a lot of the films that she's done. She did Beast, she did Misbehavior, she did. She's obviously about to be in. She's in the new series of Fargo, where she does an American accent, obviously because it's an American series. So
I can't remember if she's done an American.
She did Beast. She did. Judy. In all the films I think I've seen her in, because it's not many. Because obviously she's done a lot of stage stuff as well.
Wild Rose as well.
Wild Rose, I think the accents she's done have been very British accents. She did a Scottish accent in Wild Rose. This is the first time, and it's one of those that I think, because it's her first one, it does slightly. I mean, with all actors who do an American accent like this, it sometimes takes a little bit of tuning, if you like, to do it. I mean, you always remember Peter Sellers in the Pink Panther doing his accent, his French accent, which in the first film isn't great, and in the second film it's like flawless.
No, she's brilliant. No, don't get me wrong.
Honestly, that is not a deterrent for her performance. I just found it
slightly jarring, because I thought everyone else was so perfect. And I actually really like the fact that Thewlis did it in his own accent. And, so I think there could have been some scope there for her to do it in her own accent. It's a bit of a shame that I think she shines better when she's being herself. But, she's an actress, so,
I guess because it was, an American character written for maybe potentially an American, which, Brie Larson and everything else, but that's neither here nor there. But honestly, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I thought she was spectacular in this. Oh my goodness, they all are. When you put those four in a room together, you could just put them in a room together and just let them talk. Have one of those like Hollywood Reporter round tables. I'd sit and watch that for hours. I couldn't care about what they were talking about, But everybody in this film is magnificent. But she in particular, I mean, there's some monologues that she has. There's one monologue in particular that she does. I won't go into, because it's one of those you should watch and listen and experience how she goes about it and what she does with it. It's just extraordinary. I think she's extraordinary. And I spoke to someone on Twitter about potentially for Oscars, but because it's Charlie Kaufman, it comes with the premature of being a little bit weird. And for the Academy, it's just like, it's not really for us. We'd rather go with Judy or something, not doing disrespect to Judy, but a film that's a little bit safer and a little bit more accessible. And like you say, with Charlie Kaufman, he's very much Marmite with people. He's very much like David Lynch, isn't he, in that sense, in that some people absolutely love everything he does. Anything he touches is gold. Maybe not Dune for David Lynch's sake, but you know what I mean? And also for people, it's just like, my brain cannot penetrate his thought pattern, his process, his movies, everything.
Yeah. That's not my problem with Kaufman, though. My brain can penetrate his stuff. I just find it all a bit too know-it-all, and that annoys me. And I think I don't like that kind of deliberately alienating your audience. Doesn't work for me. And my other problem with Anomalisa, well, we're not here to review Anomalisa, but I will say this: I found it very, as a female member of the audience, I found it very sort of demeaning. I found the ethos of the story very demeaning. I think I can't remember if I reviewed it or not, but I felt like this was a story about this self-involved man who saw women just as, like, in the peripheries kind of thing. I didn't get on with his work. And I didn't get on with Anomalisa. I did get on with this because I just thought it challenged me, and I love being challenged. I love being challenged in the story, and it felt like a waking dream, and I love those kind of narratives. Again, like I said, he's probably been sort of held back a bit because he's working with someone else's material. I love his direction, don't get me wrong. I have a problem with is let loose with an idea. He sometimes can't seem to know where to stop, and and that's what annoys me about it. But in this instance, I think he did a fantastic job, and I think this is his best work. In all honesty, I think as a director, obviously, because Eternal Sunshine is fantastic. I think as a director, this is his absolute best work, in my opinion. Just, it's bonkers, like proper bonkers. You know, like when you're having one of those really stressed dreams where the stories get mixed up and characters changed, and I really like that aspect of it. And I think that's what I like about his filmmaking. All the other stuff I can take, or you know, I don't want someone sort of lecturing me about sort of you know, existential stuff. You know, I just find that so boring. But this I found did the same thing. They did the right thing in those kind of instances. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, well, I would agree. I think the thing with Kaufman, I would agree with you on this, and to a certain degree, I guess, in the sense that when he's working, like with Eternal Sunshine, he's working with, he worked on the script with Pierre Bismuth and Michel Gondry. And when he's in the not confines, but when he's collaborating, maybe more so, whether it's with the script or whether it's with the in this case, a book that's a very successful book and people really like the book, that he's taken the book and given it his slant. He hasn't changed it completely. The story, as I haven't read it, but as far as I have read and been, you know, seen on Twitter and everything else, that it is very close to the book, but then he's added Kaufman bits to it, if you like. So when he's in that environment, when he's collaborating and not let off the leash completely, like you say, then yes, he sometimes can go too much up his own arse and can try and do so much that's what alienates people. It's not that it's impenetrable, that it's just too much. It's like, you're throwing so much at me here that I don't know what I'm supposed to concentrate on, if you like, you know. And I think with this, I think he has found the perfect kind of story and the perfect you know, project for him that fits his style. And I think the way that he goes about it, the construction of everything that happens in this movie is just phenomenal. I mean, I was like you, I just couldn't stop watching it, even though it was kind of feverish and, like you say, like a dream, and there's lots of things crossing over, there's narratives crossing over, there's themes crossing over, there's characters crossing over, you know. There's bits in this where, you know, in the scene, very much like Eternal Sunshine, it's almost as if things happen. There's a scene in Eternal Sunshine, isn't there, where Jim Carrey is at the table, then the camera pans around and then comes back and he's a completely different person. Like, he's taken all the clothes off and he's like sitting there and he's completely different. This is almost like that. It does a 360 on you, but still in the confines of this amazing story.
Like that. I like
me
that.
Me too.
I like that. I find that clever. I think that's
very clever. Very clever.
I think sort of like, you know, being introspective ad nauseum and going on about your own life, and he's obsessed with his past relationships, I think, as an author. And I think going on about that, really, I find that really putting. I did not find this off-putting. I thought this was really mature for the first time, a very, very grown-up piece of work from Kaufman. And if this is what we have to expect from him from now on, give me more. If he sort of falls back into the same old crap that he does, I'm sorry for calling it crap, the same old sort of introspective stuff, I'm less interested. But I think this is really good.
Yeah,
really good.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of themes here that will be very appealing to people in terms of what he does. You know, he talks about, there's stuff about life, about grief, about love, about, you know, as you say, kind of introspective of us as people, like our lives and how we've lived them, you know, and taking that moment, wherever that may be, to kind of look back and talk about regrets, but also talk about the regret shouldn't be regrets. It's just life itself. Life throws so much at you that, you know, your regrets shouldn't maybe be regrets. They should just be part of your life. You know, life isn't perfect. You know, we have relationships that don't work out, whether they're friends, whether they're family, whether they're love. And I think the way that he goes about all of those subjects in this is just remarkable, that he's able to do so much with all of these things, yet still make it it's still a love story in some respects. You know, it's about a new relationship in many ways, but then also then does a 360 and talks about family and your relationship with your parents, and the relationship with your parents when they get old, and how your life changes then, you know, and then when you're a kid, and all of these things that he talks about, I think it's just wonderful. And again, he talks about serious subjects. He talks about, you know, depression and mental illness and anxiety, and, you know, not to talk about it too much, but you know, people choosing whether they want to live their life or not anymore. You know, all of those things. There's a lot of sensitivity around all of it, and I think he does it so well. You're right. I think this is the best thing he's done. Obviously, Eternal Sunshine is amazing, but that was a collaboration with an amazing filmmaker. You know, yeah, it's a remarkable movie, and it's well, just quickly before we go, obviously we always talk about the state of cinema on these things. We always talk on WhatsApp together. We always talk at conversations and stuff. Do you think it's disappointing that this is a Netflix film, in the sense that, do you think this is how it will be now, that these kind of movies will go to Netflix?
And if there ever was a Netflix movie, I think Kaufman's fan will see this in whatever format it comes out, and I don't feel like I lost anything from it by not watching it on big screen.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, the sort of mise en scène in it and is really glorious, and I think obviously you know me, I'm an advocate for seeing everything on a big screen, but at the same time, I generally don't think I feel that I missed it. I didn't sort of feel like shortchanged by watching it on a small screen. So I have no problem with that being a Netflix, and I'm a big Netflix. Actually, is encouraging to see Netflix picking up so many sort of unusual scripts, unusual narratives, and you know, like things that don't get picked up by bigger distributors. And I think it's going to get even worse now, because all the distributors have lost so much money in the last sort of 6 months or so. So I think the smaller production will take a bit of a hit, but I don't feel shortchanged by having seen it on a small screen. What did you think?
No, not at all. And I think obviously I think Netflix, obviously, a different environment, i.e. not COVID. I mean, you look at last year with award season, they had Marriage Story, Uncut Gems, The Irishman, all did fantastically on Netflix, but also people sought them out in the cinemas. You know, it had a small theatrical run. It's just that I would have liked to see it on the big screen, just because of how it looks, and as you say, the way it's shot and the mise en scène, and the cinematography is amazing, and the production design is amazing, and the way the camera moves amongst the characters, particularly in, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a lot of it set in a house. The way it moves around the house into the different rooms and into the different, almost as if you're going through someone's mind in some ways. Again, not to give anything away. I think that would have been great on the big screen, but I don't think you lose anything watching it at home. I think it's perfectly fine. And as I say, in a different circumstance, the normal circumstance, this would have been released on Friday at Netflix, but then you could have gone to the Curzon Soho in London, or the New York, the Lincoln Center in America, all those kind of places, to see it on the big screen if you wanted to, which I think is fantastic. So I think Netflix do a great job of trying to do both, particularly with this kind of stuff.
Let's do
scores. Yeah, let's do scores. What's your score, Linda?
Again, I'm gonna go for 5. I think it's his best work.
That's two in a row.
I think it's fantastic. I genuinely think it's his best work, and I mean, you know, it's encouraging to see him stepping out of sort of being too introspective into something so much more than what we've come to expect from him. I loved it. I loved everything about it. Fantastic. Yeah,
same. 5 stars. Easy 5 stars. This is probably my favorite film of the year so far, discounting the strange theatrical windows that we have in the UK, which is that we get a lot of the Oscar movies much later than in the US. So they're in our so like obviously like Waves and Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Uncut Gem, all those kind of movies, Parasite, that are top of my list, aren't really top of my list because they're 2019. It's strange, isn't it? It's a strange thing we have as UK critics to have to do something like that. But in terms of 2020 releases, this is my favorite so far. Easily. I just thought it was just spellbinding on every single level. I thought everyone was brilliant. Everything about it is fantastic, and there will be people who don't like it. There already is people that have reviewed it that don't like it, but I like the fact that he's someone that tries to do something different and to try to bring something fresh to the table. And particularly now where we're still all at home and still struggling with things, to have a movie like this come out on Netflix for us to all watch, enjoy or not enjoy, it's something that should be seen, I think. So 5 stars from me, easy. My favorite film of the year so far. So we'll see what happens as we go into kind of awards season, and it's strange new dynamic that it will be, that we'll probably be watching a lot more of these movies at home in the coming months with festivals and everything else. So who knows? But the gauntlet has been laid for best film of the year. There you go. So that's our review of I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which starts streaming on Netflix from this Friday, September the 4th. If you don't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, HeyUGuys YouTube channel, and make sure you click the little like icon, and let us know your comments when you've seen the movie. Hopefully we haven't given anything away. I don't think we have. Let us know what you thought. It'd be lovely to hear from people who didn't enjoy the movie and why you didn't enjoy it. It'd be interesting to have a conversation with you. As ever, make sure you head over to HeyUGuys.com for all of your movie, TV goodness, reviews, interviews, lots of interviews in this era of Zoom. We have some fantastic ones coming up, fingers crossed, that will tickle your fancy. And we'll be back soon with another. There's lots of releases coming out in the next few weeks. Netflix particularly have a lot of good stuff coming out. So until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!